So in today's lecture, I'll cover a very fundamental problem that has kind of revolutionized AI throughout, like what we see around us. It was one of the first earlier Sparkle which we did. It's very recent, but it's also kind of paves the way how to think about interview problems as well and real life problems as well. So ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਲੈਕਚਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਫੰਡਾਮੈਂਟਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਕਵਰ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਵੇਰੀਏਸ਼ਨਸ ਐਗਜ਼ਿਸਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਅਕਸਰ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਲਾਈਕ ਬੁੱਕਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਅਲੱਗ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਬਟ ਅੱਜ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦਿਖਾਊਂਗਾ ਕਿ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਹਾਊ ਵੀ ਸੋਲਵਡ ਦਿਸ ਥਿੰਗ, ਵਟ ਵਾਸ ਦ ਥਿੰਕਿੰਗ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਵੈਨ ਵੀ ਵਰ ਟੈਕਲਿੰਗ ਦਿਸ ਕੰਪਲੈਕਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ। ਆਪਣਾ ਥਿੰਕਿੰਗ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਕੀ ਸੀ and fundamental sparkle around it, like all the things that happened from this. So we'll have a working code as well, but I'll also give a wider picture to connect the dots. Okay, so let's get started. And as always, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. Some simple bookkeepings, like so focus interviews and Python coding, but we'll look at fundamental problem for this. Okay, so your questions from the past lectures, any doubts during the lecture, put it in the chat. Please don't spam because there are many participants. And I often take a look at the question most of the time. And if I feel that this is something relevant to discuss in the class, I always discuss it. Otherwise, I often kind of ask the students to send an email or WhatsApp if I feel it's not relevant to the course or it will not help other students. All the recordings, most of them are available. So if you are new, which many of you are, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਵੇਂ ਜੁੜੇ ਨੇ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਰਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਨਵੇਂ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਲੈਕਚਰਸ ਰਿਕਾਰਡਿੰਗ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਸੁਣ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਇਹ ਰਿਕਾਰਡਿੰਗਸ ਕਾਫੀ ਘੱਟ ਛੋਟੇ ਪਾਏ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ। ਲਾਈਵ ਲੈਕਚਰ ਦੇ Q&A ਐਂਡ ਮੈਨੀ ਥਿੰਗਸ ਆ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਰਿਕਾਰਡਿੰਗਸ ਵੀ ਸੁਣ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਮੈਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਲਿੰਕ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਚੈਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾ ਦਿਆਂਗਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ Q&A ਵਾਸਤੇ ਰੁਕਾਂਗੇ। ਸੋ ਦੀ ਰਿਕਾਰਡਿੰਗਸ ਆਰ on the channel. Please follow if you have missed the classes. Okay, so let's come to the today's topic. Okay, so this is tricky if you are taking this, like understanding this kind of data sets for the first time. So we'll go slowly. Okay, so ਆਪਾਂ ਥੋੜਾ slowly progress ਕਰਾਂਗੇ to make sure ਕਿ what is the core idea that's clear to you all. So we started yesterday with the AI problems in interview or real life. Interview the real life ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ connect ਇਸ ਲਈ ਕੀਤਾ। Most of the good interviewers who are from good companies, from top universities, when you're interviewing for your say applications in masters or PhD, right? They have very deeper knowledge. That knowledge is often not available in the books. So it comes with practice. So that practical knowledge, they often test you on real question, right? And that real question is very simplified, no doubt, but it will not be just write an algorithm. It will often, you have to think end to end. You have to define your problem, define your data, then write your algorithms or define your algorithms, and then think about how ਉੱਥੇ ਅਕਸਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਸੁਪਰਵਾਈਜ਼ ਲਰਨਿੰਗ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਅਨਸੁਪਰਵਾਈਜ਼ ਲਰਨਿੰਗ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਰੀਇਨਫੋਰਸਮੈਂਟ ਲਰਨਿੰਗ ਕੀ ਹੈ। ਉਹ ਟ੍ਰਿਕੀਨੈਸ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਟ੍ਰਿਕੀਨੈਸ ਅਕਸਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੁੱਛੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ। ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਿਖਾਈਆਂ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਹਾਲਾਂਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਸਮਝ ਬੜੀ ਆਸਾਨੀ ਨਾਲ ਆ ਜਾਣਗੀਆਂ, ਪਰ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਟ੍ਰਿਕੀਨੈਸ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੀ ਇੰਨੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਸਮਝਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਫॉर what we wanted to do in the course, ਹੈ ਨਾ। So practically you know how AI works and how it's created from the past lectures. But the biggest question when you are in a big company or you're giving an interview for a very top quality job, ਉੱਥੇ bigger question ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ AI ਬਣਾ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਇੱਕ ਨਵੀਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਰਾਈਟ? ਹੁਣ reality ਵਿੱਚ there are very few new problems. So most of the time ਜੋ problems ਪੁੱਛੀਆਂ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ, they are to some extent known, ਉਹ simplified versions ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ complex problems ਜਿਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, like big tech companies, Google, Amazon or Facebook. We have covered the recommendation teams and all in one of our past lecture. If you go to those kind of interview groups, they will often ask you to create a simplified recommendation system. They will often ask you to create a simplified vision system if you're going to a vision group, right? ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਟੀਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੁਐਸਚਨਸ ਪੁੱਛੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਟਾਰਟਅਪ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਐਗਰੀਕਲਚਰ ਸਟਾਰਟਅਪ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਕਰਨ, ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਹਿ ਦੇਣਗੇ ਕਿ AI ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਦਿਓ ਜੋ ਇੱਕ ਐਗਰੀਕਲਚਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਨੂੰ ਸੋਲਵ ਕਰੇ, ਰਾਈਟ? So wherever you go, big company, small company, you often end up creating a real world problem. If you are going to a top class company, be it a startup or a big tech, ML has changed a lot, where most of the memorization of different types is not needed. We have LLM tools to help us. But problem formulation is something which is the core part at any research group or at any company. Okay. ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹ ਦੇਖਾਂਗੇ, and I'll try to connect it to the bigger story then. Sample question which we started yesterday was, for example, you are going for a vision company. I'm taking vision as an example. One reason is that it is easy to understand vision. Human eyes can understand the data very well. Plus, in some last few demos and all, I've showed you some working vision demos. So it can fall into that same steps very easily. But this same example is not just a vision example. You can extrapolate it, and I will little bit do that in the next few lectures also to give you a better version. Idea is that you are trying to create a real product. Now we will try to simplify it. In here, the goal is to detect if image contains a square or a triangle. And interviewer is asking you that we want to solve this problem using AI. So इथे अपना goal है image which objects ने अलग-अलग type थे, square या triangle, and we want to solve it using AI. In yesterday's lecture and in the past few lectures, we started with what is AI, right? And I also tried to explain to you this definition through what AI can do and how is AI created. So first part of this problem is actually just going back to our definition. So ਆਪਾਂ ਡੈਫੀਨੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਜੋ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਲੈਕਚਰ ਚ ਪੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ, ਵਾਟ ਇਜ਼ AI, ਉਹਦੇ ਅਲੱਗ-ਅਲੱਗ ਡੈਫੀਨੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਮੈਂ ਸਿਖਾਈਆਂ ਸੀ ਕਿ AI ਕਰ ਕੀ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ, AI ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟਡ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹੈ, ਰਾਈਟ? We try to learn through some of these definitions. So try to map. The first step is actually the interview question which you have: can an intelligent entity do this? So your definition said AI can do almost whatever human can do. So can you yourself solve the problem? You can. If you are the AI, can you look at the image and tell me which image has triangle or square? Write it in the chat. Can you solve that problem yourself? If you look at the image, can you tell me that it is a triangle or square, right? You are an intelligent entity. That's the first step. I'll wait for your responses, right? Now, the second step is, once it's clear that yes, this problem is solvable by an intelligent entity, right? That AI can do this, like what AI can do. Like that first step of your first definition in the first lecture actually was connected to this interview part. That was one of the reasons we said it's a practical AI course, because everything here was connected with everything else. If you now look back all the lectures, actually. The second definition which I showed you, how AI is created, उस definition which आपका कोई steps पढ़े सी, second definition which कि AI बनाई किमें जाती है. So those steps were actually telling us, they were small parts of problem itself. Like the steps were telling us you need data, you need to select AI, you need to train AI, then you need to test AI. Those all steps which we have looked at so many times from many different angles, right? Through angle of data, through angle of AI, evolution angle, all those things. So the second step which I was yesterday discussing at a high level was we need to define the problem. So ਸਾਡਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ step ਹੈ कि इस interview question ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ, an intelligent entity. Maybe you may take many years to solve it, but still can you do it or not? So if the answer is yes, that even if you can do it with many years or with a lot of hard work or with a lot of copies of yourself, you can think it that way. Then the second step is, let us define the problem, like how is AI created, right? Let's come back again to this one. So it's a vision product. It's a vision AI. Again, two objects will be there, but there are many ambiguities there. So this problem is not defined very well. ਆਪਾਂ ਕੱਲ ਕੁਝ ambiguities ਪੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇਹਦੇ ਚ ਕੀ defined ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ. So write it in the chat. You still remember what is not defined in here. I'll little bit take a look in few minutes to see how much of you remember that what is actually not defined in here, right? So like this is the sample data which I was showing yesterday. There are like 5 photos here. So square, triangle, 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 and square. So with human eyes, you can easily identify if it's triangle or square in the photo. So ਅੱਜ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਜੋ sample data ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ 5 photos ਨੇ, ਇਹ 5 photos ਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ AI ਨੂੰ ਦਿਓਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਦੇ square ਹੈ, ਇਹਦੇ triangle ਹੈ. This is something which you can expect from the interviewer, that they can show you sample data, okay? ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਸੋਲਵ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਵੇਲੇ, ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਡੈਫੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਏਗੀ, ਸੈਂਪਲ ਡੇਟਾ ਦੇ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਏਗਾ, ਸੈਂਪਲ ਰਿਸਪੌਂਸਸ ਦੇ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ. ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਡੇਟਾ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਨੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ triangle, rectangle ਦੇ sizes, locations vary ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, square ਦਾ color vary ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ, right? All those things. Many things are unclear, okay? So let's further move. Can ChatGPT solve this problem? So ChatGPT, if you just upload this image and ask it, I'm uploading an image, tell me the object present in this image, right? So ChatGPT ਨੂੰ ਬੜੀ ਸੋਹਣਾ solve ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦਾ. It says that it is square near the top right corner. So ChatGPT can solve this. But do we need ChatGPT for this? We don't need ChatGPT for this. ਇੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਬੜੀ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਦੱਸਦਾ. ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ChatGPT ਸੋਲਵ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦਾ, ਪਰ ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ChatGPT ਹਰ ਚੀਜ਼ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ. Like 1 + 1 is equal to what? ChatGPT can tell you 2, right? But you should not use that for ChatGPT for this thing. So it can solve this, but for this problem we can create a very simple vision AI. I'll show you very simple vision AI, which can run on your even smartwatch, or which can run on a very tiny microcontroller. So we don't need a very powerful large language model to solve this problem. Even though large language model can solve it, but this is like optimization of resources. So when you're in an interview, you don't have to give the complex answer for the problem. जो तुसी interview दे रहे हो, ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ complex answer create ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ. Real interviewers are very smart. They can see through that actually have done the hard job of creating a system, or you just threw a big LLM and just solved it, right? That kind of thing, okay? So upper steps in creating AI dekhe si. That steps will go with the data, selecting AI, training AI, testing AI, right? These are all the steps which I will follow today to answer this interview question. We'll also see a live working code for this. ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ interview ਦੇ steps ਅੱਜ follow ਕਰਾਂਗੇ. ਆਪਾਂ ਦੇਖਾਂਗੇ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ steps ਨਾਲ data, AI selection, training, testing ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ. All these steps will follow, okay? We'll try to map the interview questions here today. Again, this is actually the first flavor I want to give you to think end to end today. ਤੁਸੀਂ end to end ਦੇਖੋ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਉਹ actually interviews ਵਿੱਚ directly ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ. So that is the plan. It will not make you expert interviewee today itself. Oh, goal nahi hai apna. But we are starting connecting the dots, especially for the bachelor's or master's students who are in the call. Think ahead. Many times company ki hundi hai ki they can ask one step of this. They will give you data and training process and just tell you what kind of AI you can select here. So today we're actually doing end to end, but each of these small steps can be an interview question, okay? In approach ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਕੀ ਹੈ? Like I just said, can AI do this? That is the first thing you need to know. And very easy way to answer this is can you do this yourself? ਹੁਣ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ suppose it's a cancer detection problem, so you cannot do this maybe, but AI can do this. So think in that way, can human intelligence do it? Can intelligence entity do this? Can a doctor do this? So if the answer is yes, then yes, there are patterns in the data which we can discover automatically. इस सब तो बाद आप problem define कर दें. We'll define the problem in the second step. Like there is so much ambiguity, and then this is again happening again and again. What it means is to see problem define तो बाद again can AI do this? So you can simplify it now. तो see problem define कर देंगे हो कि maybe I am only interested to detect squares and triangles of black and white color. So आप simplify कर देंगे problem, right? Simplification is the key. ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ real work कर रहे होंगे हो, so you have to create the big system, but it's always good to simplify it. Create a small version. So in interview, you often have 45 minutes, 1 hour. You cannot solve the entire company problem there, okay? Sari problem solve karne de bajaye to simplify karo. So this is an open-ended. Often interviews are open-ended. These kind of most of the ML interviews are open-ended, okay? To simplify, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਦੇ ਆਪ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ let me simplify. Let us take that square and triangle are fixed size. And maybe they can move around the image, but let us also think that the squares and triangle are say black and white. So we can simplify it further. Next step, once this thing is done many times and you are interviewer are same page, जो तुसी बहुत बारी कर लिया, ते हुन तुसी आपदी जो तुहाडा interview panel on the नाल तुसी agree okay, this is the problem you want to solve. Then you define the data now, okay, because the data can be simplified now, and then you define the output now. Don't worry about the AI yet. Input data, output define कर लो. साडा input images ने square to triangles सी, output होएगा कि is it a triangle or square? It's a decision, right? So don't worry about the how part, how you will solve this. What is the AI? If you do this, this is the 70% of the problem. 70 to 80%. So in real world, when the big teams of Amazon, Google are creating AI, I have mentored many teams in many companies, right? So this is the process which is followed in every company in different way. They may call it different names, but ਹੁੰਦਾ ਇਹੀ ਹੈ, ਹਰ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਫੋਲੋ ਸਿਮਿਲਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਹੀ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਨਾਮ ਅਲੱਗ-ਅਲੱਗ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਰੀਅਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਬਹੁਤ ਟਫ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ. We start to simplify, we create a prototype with a very simplified problem. So in the interview, often you are creating a very simple prototype. Nobody wants you to create the entire working system in 1 hour. Nobody expects you to do that. Nobody can do that. It's so many things to test and think about, right? Reality ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ simpler prototype ਚਲਾ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹੋ. Now it tells you that actually you can solve the larger problem with more data, with complex algorithms, with complex testing. Okay. हर कंपनी दी टीम्स इस प्रोसेस को सिंप्लीफाई करके then they kind of think about data collection process, all the things. ਆਪਾਂ ਅਗਾ move on ਹੋਈਏ. So how many of you a little bit understood this part until here, what I'm trying to say? Then we'll look at the real examples. Okay, give me a thumbs up. Okay, sounds good. Okay. So ਇਸ ਪਾਰਟ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਐਲਿਟੀ ਚ ਫਾਰਮਲਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਆਫ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ. ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਦੇ ਵੀ AI ਪੇਪਰਸ ਪੜ੍ਹੋਗੇ, ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਫਾਰਮਲਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੁੱਕਸ ਪੜ੍ਹੋਗੇ, ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਫਾਰਮਲਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ, ਰਾਈਟ? This is the problem formalization, that you have defined the problem, you know that AI can do this, you have simplified the problem. Now you know that this will be my data, this is my output. So once these both pieces are in place, now AI can be designed. ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕੀ ਹੈ? ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਡੇਟਾ ਚੇਂਜ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਰਹੇਗਾ, ਤੁਸੀਂ AI ਬਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਡੇਟਾ ਹੀ ਫਿਕਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ. ਸੋ ਯੂ ਹੈਵ ਟੂ ਫਿਕਸ ਦਾ ਡੇਟਾ. ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆਊਟਪੁੱਟ ਚੇਂਜ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ AI ਬਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਟਸ ਕਨਫਿਊਜ਼ਿੰਗ what is the final goal, right? So fix the input, fix the output. Now you can put the smartness in place. Okay. So real companies ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਸਭ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਡਕਟ ਮੈਨੇਜਰਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ MBA ਐਕਸਪਰਟਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਪ੍ਰੋਡਕਟ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਈਨਰਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਿਰਫ ਗੋਲ ਇਹੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਟੂ ਮੇਕ ਸ਼ੋਰ ਦੈਟ ਦ ਰਿਕੁਆਇਰਮੈਂਟਸ ਆਰ ਕੈਪਚਰਡ ਵੈਰੀ ਵੈਲ. ਦਿਸ ਆਰ ਦ ਰਿਕੁਆਇਰਮੈਂਟ ਕੈਪਚਰਿੰਗ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ. ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਤੇ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕੰਪਨੀਜ਼ 1 2 3 ਮੰਥ ਲਗਾ ਦਿੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ. ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਦੇ ਵੀ online jobs dekhoge na, if you look around the online jobs, you will see there are jobs of product manager, there are jobs of like this product description writer, like requirements and all those things. So that's what they do. I'm teaching you all this because if you know how to do all this, now you are complete end-to-end AI expert. ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ product the requirements capture ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ, you know how to capture it. So now you don't only just know how to create AI, you can do this end-to-end on your own. You can create your startups, you can create your companies. Okay. So we started with this sample input, square, triangle. Let us simplify this and let us also understand what is happening. So let's simplify the problem like a real interviewer or a real life problem. So let us say that only one object is present, not both. दोनों objects simultaneously present नहीं हो सकते. Both objects will not be present. This also tells the interviewer that you are very smart, you are sharp. You can think ahead about corner cases. And then always one object is present, so it's never empty. So this image is never empty. I will tell you how we can handle emptiness, multiple objects present in the future. But let us first simplify the problem and let's create a simpler AI. And then all the trickiness will bring in slowly in the next few lectures. But that trickiness will be enough now to work like a real system. But in your interview, simplification is never bad, as long as the real problem, the real flavor is kept. Okay. And then black and white color only. So we said it's just black and white color. Now in this simplified process, can you still recognize what is square and what is triangle? Write it in the chat if you can still recognize. Okay, that's good. Another thing I just did here is we simplified the image very much. This image is just 50 by 50 image. So this lines which you see here, there are just 50 pixel in this one. So 50 by 50 image is the matlab hunda hai, there are 50 rows and 50 columns in this metric. How many of you have done matrices in your schools? Give me a thumbs up if you have done matrices. Yeah, so you have done matrices. How many of you actually know what is an array? Give me a thumbs up if you know what is an array. So for the purpose of this class, we'll consider matrices and arrays are the same. Okay, there are technical differences and how literature handles them. Okay, for purpose of this, so this is like a metric, and if you don't know what is metric or array, just think of this is a box and we are filled of numbers, and whenever there is a number like in this multiple rows, it is a square or it can be a triangle, these multiple numbers are filled in. I'll show you also what it looks like. Okay, now before moving forward, let me see if you understood this part until the simplification process, and I'll also see the if there are any questions in the chat. Okay, what are the things that we should learn for Python for AI? So we will teach that to you. That I will try to answer slowly through this lecture and through next lectures. Okay. Size, yes, these things are not clear. That's right. Size, many of the things are open. Location and all is not clear. 2D, 3D is not clear. Yes, the space matters. How much space does triangle and square? So in the simplification process, which we did, we fixed the size of triangle and square, but actually it can be larger, smaller, right? The shape matters. Okay. What are the things? Okay, array, matrix. So array and matrix consider that them as collection of numbers. These numbers are arranged. So arrays and matrices are the way to capture image data. We do use it for many things, but for today's lecture, consider them as a way to capture image data. Okay. Okay, let's continue. I think there are no important questions. And I hope you understood until this part. Let me know if you understood until the simplification process before we continue. Give me a thumbs up if you understood. So now the real image resolutions, right? So in reality, the image resolution from your camera, like the HD camera, is 1280720 pixels. This has roughly 9,21,000, like 21,600 pixels. So many pixels in the image. Or your full HD 1080 has actually even like close to 2 million pixels, more than 2 million pixels. So your your real images, what you click from your phones, they are like very dense with data, lot of information, but we don't need this much information for many tasks. We understood this when we were trying to solve some very real problems early on. I'll discuss those real problems. I'll touch base like how this created revolutions in AI. But ਸੋ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਜੋ ਕੈਮਰਾਸ ਫੋਟੋ ਖਿੱਚਦੇ ਨੇ, ਲਾਈਕ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੈਮਰਾਸ ਫੋਨ ਦੇ HD ਕੈਮਰਾਸ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਫੁੱਲ HD ਕੈਮਰਾਸ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਲਾਈਕ ਇਮੇਜ ਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਦੇਖੋਗੇ, ਸੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਪਿਕਸਲ ਦੀ ਬਲੈਰੀਨੈਸ ਦਿਸਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ, because it's so many pixels, like there are 9,21,000 pixels or more than 2 million pixels if it's full HD, right? But ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਕੁਅਰ ਤੇ ਟ੍ਰਾਇੰਗਲ ਡਿਟੈਕਟ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੰਨੀ ਰੈਜ਼ੋਲੂਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਓਕੇ, ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਡਿਟੈਕਟ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੰਨੀ ਰੈਜ਼ੋਲੂਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। So I'll show you some real examples also, but so the resolution of images matter a lot. For example, like color ਕਿਵੇਂ ਆਪਾਂ define ਕਰਦੇ image? Anyone in the audience know how do we define colors in the images? Give me a thumbs up if you know this. Okay, some of you know this. So we didn't I just showed you black and white, like that matrix, right? Like that boxes with where something was filled. So colors are you can consider red has 9,21,000 pixel, green has this much. So each of these color, the three color has their own pixels. So you multiply these pixels by 3 because there are red, green and blue, and you can mix these red, green and blue to get any color. Today's lecture we are not going to learn about colors. I just wanted to give here for completeness sake. आज the lecture च ਆਪਾਂ color नहीं सीखेंगे, आप image ਨੂੰ black and white use करके pixel detect कर लांगे. Okay, like we will detect the colors, triangles and all from it, but we'll not talk about the color images today, so don't worry. If you didn't understood this part, this slide, no need to worry, we are not going to talk about it. I'm just putting it here for the completeness sake कि reality ਵਿੱਚ resolution ज़्यादा ਹੁੰਦਾ है ਤੇ colors spaces ਦੇ अलग-अलग pixels ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ. So all the cameras which you have, that's how they store the data. Like there is nothing other magic out there. Okay, so whatever you learned here is not for this course, it's beyond this one. So simplify, let us simplify it further. Like, so what I meant is that black and white means that now there is only one black or white pixel space. There is no red, green, blue. So it's a unique channel. Before we had color cameras, we had black and white cameras, remember? So that's how we used to save the images. Okay, many of your generation have probably never seen black and white cameras or black and white TVs. Okay, but reality, which let us simplify it even further. So this is a 10 by 10 image. There are only 10 rows and 10 columns. Okay, 10 rows and 10 columns. In this 10 by 10 image, to see we are filling the pixels. So whenever a pixel is filled, it's like this is how the triangle will look like, and this is how the square will look like. A triangle is not perfect because now you can see the blurriness in the pixels. Okay, pixel blurry ho jande ne kyunki apna resolution bahut kata 10 by 10, right? So that's how the triangle will look like. It's very, very simplified form. Is simplified form of images which ki tusi triangle te square detect kar sakde ho? Are you able to do it with your eyes? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Okay, so you see, we started with, you can have a very high resolution image like with 9 lakh pixels. In this one, there are only 100 pixels, 10 multiplied by 10. So 10 rows, 10 columns. So in this matrix or array, there are just 100 elements. And the which are like different values. You see that creates triangle or that creates square. The shape of the triangle is fixed. Like you see here, shape is fixed means they are always of same shape. Size is fixed, but location can be different. It can appear here or it can appear down. So ये जो simple जी space ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦਿਸ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਆਪਾਂ use ਬਹੁਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ real life ਵਿੱਚ. So machine learning ਦਾ ਜੋ data ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਾਫੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਬਹੁਤ complex ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ. ML algorithms ਨੂੰ ਉਹਨੇ complex data ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ. So we simplify the data. Simplification of data is an art. ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹੌਲੀ-ਹੌਲੀ ਸਮਝ ਆਏਗਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਡਾਟਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਸਿੰਪਲੀਫਾਈ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ. ਵਿਜ਼ਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਰੈਜ਼ੋਲੂਸ਼ਨ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਘਟਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ. ਵਿਜ਼ਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮਸ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਟੱਡੀ ਕੀਤਾ. So we often deep it down, we reduce the resolutions and we go 10 by 10 like you see here. And this will also work like with your eyes, you know, this is triangle, this is square. This would have not worked if there are other shapes which are more complex and now we cannot just recognize them. But with the two shapes, this will work. ਇੱਥੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਸਮਝ ਆਇਆ this part? Give me a thumbs up if you understood this. And the students who have questions, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਨੇ, please write it in the chat. I'll take a look at them in some time, okay? This is how the image data looks like. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ 10 by 10, right? So you see, this is actually the square, this square. It starts in the second row and this column. So wherever there is a 0, 0, that becomes dark. Black and white image, that becomes dark, and 255 becomes 1. This 255 comes from something else. I will discuss about it in some other lecture. But this 255 is actually present in all your images. Like if you open your images and you will see the complete brightness is actually 255 complete brightness. So all your cameras, videos, everything you use, that video transmission, the 255 and all internally means white, and 0 means actually dark. So the intermediate hunda hai, 100 means somewhat like a little bit like less dark and less white, you can say. All those things exist. For this lecture, you can see that this is actually how the square looks like. मैं ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ images ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ numbers ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, right? ਕਿ neural network ਨੂੰ ਆ image ਸਮਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਏਗੀ, ਉਹਨੂੰ numbers ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਨੇ. This is the numbers which represent the image. In these numbers, 255 ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੈ complete whiteness, and ਜਿੱਥੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ zeros ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ dark ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿੱਥੇ zero ਸਾਰੇ connect ਹੋ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਉਹ square ਬਣ ਜਾਏਗਾ. How many of you are understanding this part of the figure which I'm just showing now? Okay. So there are many students who probably are seeing this data for the first time, right? Write it in the chat if you didn't understood, and you can write that I did not understood. Let me stop here and I'll wait for your responses in the chat.